Let me explain briefly what goes into a block paving construction. There are just 4 elements: a sub-base, edge restraint, sand, and the blocks. First, the sub-base. For heaviest domestic use, a 200 mm thick sub-base will be needed. This consists of crushed stone, quarry waste, hoggin, or other suitable and locally available material. For driveways, for light car traffic, sub-base thicknesses can be scaled down. For patios and paths, a sub-base may not be required at all if the ground is firm. In these situations, it's sufficient to remove organic materials and topsoil to the depth required and firmly compact the ground. Next, edge restraint. All edges of block paved areas must be restrained using concrete curb, edging, existing walls, or other suitable material. Then comes a sand laying course, screeded to a depth of 60 to 65 mm, which will later be compacted to a depth of 45 to 50 mm. The blocks are laid on the sand. They're then bedded onto the sand, usually by vibration. This also compacts the laying course sand and drives some of it up into the bottom of the block joints. Finer sand is brushed over the surface, and the blocks are vibrated again to complete the filling of joints. That's all there is to it. The surface is interlocked and ready for immediate use. Now let's see it in practice. Where a sub-base is required, it needs to have an even, close-knit surface. The material used must be capable of being laid without voids, so that laying coarse sand can't filter through into it. Alternatively, existing surfaces can be used as the sub-base if levels allow. Potholes are filled with sub-base material, then the sand and blocks follow as an overlay. After a short period in service, the joints of concrete block paving become sealed against rainwater. So it's necessary to provide for drainage of surface water. The sub-base should be laid to minimum cross falls of 1 in 40 and longitudinal falls of 1 in 100. Edge restraint is placed next, bedded on mortar and haunched. That's a shoulder of mortar against the outside edge. Concrete garden edging is commonly used, or a small element curb system. House walls can be used quite safely, provided that the block surface will be at least 150 mm below the damp-proof course and the paved surface drains away from the house. With edge restraints in place, the next job is to screed sand in preparation for block laying. Timber rails to the thickness of sand required are laid out on the sub-base, and a board is used to screed out. This can be done either single-handed or in larger areas with 2. Sand of a constant moisture content is required, and it's always a sharp concreting type sand and never a soft building sand. Blocks are then laid, taking care not to walk on the screeded sand. They're placed hard up against the previously laid blocks. Spacer nibs on most blocks ensure that the joint widths are just right. There's no need to attempt fine adjustment of the level of one block to another at this stage. The blocks are laid along the laying face in one direction and back in the other. For edge fitting, blocks need to be cut. With care, they can be cut using a hammer and bolster, but it's worthwhile hiring a block splitter if there's a lot of cutting to do. When an area has been laid and edge fitting completed, the blocks are bedded onto the sand using a plate vibrator, which is easily hired. Two or three passes are made over the surface, and then fine joint-filling sand is then spread over the surface and brushed into the joints. Then, still with a covering of sand on the surface, the blocks are vibrated again. This drives sand down and completes the filling of joints. When this work is completed, so is the paving. There's nothing else to it.